study circle because my son Anand Desai was at once the convener of this study circle. So I have some soft feeling for Andheri West Study Circle. Gaurang, am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir.
Gaurang, am I
Yes,
audible?
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir,
okay.
you are clearly audible.
Fine, fine. Well, at the outset, this is a very a landmark and a very important session for me, being 1000th lecture. So, and it's going to be remembered for years to come. At the outset, I must congratulate and commemorate the efforts by the present and the past president of ICI and the vice president of ICI for bringing this endeavor and bringing all us together on the electronic platform. At the same time, the president, the chairman and the vice chairman of the Accounting Standard Board, MP Vijay Kumarji, and the vice chairman, Dr. Sanjeev Singhal, also deserves a great compliments for this endeavor. And of course, Andheri West Study Circle. Friends, this is one amendment which has been brought perhaps in the history of ICI for the first time. I'm not too sure, but broadly I remember in the history of ICI for the first time, a retrospective amendment. This circular was clarified, issued, notified on 31st of March 2021 with effect from April 1st, 2020, meaning this amendment is going to be effective on and from accounting period beginning on or after 1st of April 2020. Friends, well, normally any change is brought in retrospectively. We get shivers to the spine. कहते कि oh my God, retrospective है, क्या करेंगे? Very difficult. But here, again, for a change, this is to ease the applicability of the accounting standards, in the sense that the criterias or the threshold limits for the level 1, 2, and 3 have been relaxed and enhanced. As a result of which, an entity which was earlier a part of level 1 will now become part of level 2 or 3. Now there are some caveats. I'll tell you about these caveats. This presentation, I must acknowledge, that has been is based on, as you can see, the announcement criteria for the non-company. Now here they've changed the word from non-corporate to non-company. Earlier the word was non-corporate, and now there's a change in the word non-company. That means a lot. That means this is applicable. This change is applicable only to the non-company entities, meaning partnership firm, individual, association of persons, HUFs, and maybe some other non-corporate entity like charitable trust and all this. But it's not impacting the companies and the LLPs. All right. The second, it depends on. I have taken a cue from the Compendium of Accounting Standards issued in 2019. A very good statement, and very importantly, the preface and the plethora of changes which have been brought in since beginning till July 2019. Friends, I suggest one should take time and read this Compendium of Accounting Standards, and read as if you are a CA final student, as if you're appearing for an exam. Because honestly, and I am not an exception to it, honestly, after becoming CA and after getting too much busy with the practice, we tend to forget to read the accounting standards afresh. But I realized that when we read the accounting standards or such documents like Compendium of Accounting Standards or Guidance Note, it really enhances our understanding all the more good. And then we realize, okay, yes, it clears our concept and sometimes improve our concept. At the same time, I relied on the guidance note on the tax audit. Again, a very good statement. So I must acknowledge where I have taken the resources from. Now, this slide is of immense importance for understanding the today's topic. In the first place, the discussion on this is only applicable to non-company entities. Okay, they've used the word and rather than the and Now discussion on this is now you can see one more thing. Level 4 has been added, which was earlier under the accounting standard was only level 3. So one change, level 4 has been added. Besides changing the threshold limits, second, this circular has not made any changes in accounting standards. Whatever existing accounting standards are there, they are same, no changes, except when whatever changes have been made by virtue of the amendments back in 2016, like AS10 has been changed topsy-turvy. AS10, property plan equipment, has been revamped totally. The name has been changed to property plan equipment from the fixed assets, and besides, it gets combined. AS10 and AS6 was combined in AS10. That's fine. Only the criteria for the non-company entities have been changed. That means the criteria level for level 1, 2, and 3, which was meant for the corporate entities, have not been touched upon. They are same. Mind you well, this new 4 criteria are absolutely and exclusively and only for the non-company entities. स्टैंडर्ड्स में 1 रुपए का बदलाव नहीं है, लेवल्स में भी बदलाव नहीं है. लेवल 1, 2, 3 जो कॉर्पोरेट्स के लिए है वो बिल्कुल ऐसे ही रहेगा. स्टैंडर्ड्स भी यू के दू है. फर्क कहाँ पे है? The change is in the criteria of level 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the non-company entities. As your convener Garangba has said correctly, we tend to lose sight of the applicability of the accounting standards because there are no laws governing the applicability of accounting standards to partnership firm, to individuals, to AOPs, and the body of individuals. Well, to some extent, I would say charitable trusts, but charitable trusts are sometimes governed by the. Kindly, please mute yourself. Okay. Gaurang Bhai, you're talking about the applicability of accounting standard to the partnership firms and individuals. When we sometimes discuss about the applicability of accounting standard to the private limited companies, they argue, sir, you are talking about all this applicability of this standard and that standard, but tell me one thing, has any time Register of Companies issued any notice for the non-compliance since the beginning of the entity, since the beginning of the company? So they sometimes argue this, and sometimes they discourage. And third most important thing, even if you put in efforts, we tend to feel that our client is not going to compensate us for that. So that is also one of the dissuading factor. But nonetheless, मैं एक समझता हूँ कि client आपको उसका भुगतान दे या ना दे, उसकी कदर करे ना करे, कदर करने वाला ऊपर वाला है, and वो आपको कहीं ना कहीं से कोई फल दे देगा. And besides that, it's our onus to comply. It's our onus, it's our duty to comply with the accounting standards. Sometimes we'll see that when we conduct the tax audits. Now, tax audit is considered to be the assurance, is the kind of the attestation function. Tax audit is an attestation function, and as per the guidance note issued for the tax audit, it's very important. Besides that, in the preface to the accounting standards, they made very clear that for whenever the member is discharging any attestation function, it is his duty to make sure that the accounting standards are complied with. So friends, be careful that when you do the tax audit, you do this, you definitely comply. I mean, I don't mean to say wherever it is, you're not doing attest function. Yeah, if no auditing is required, that is fine. You don't need to comply. But as a good practice, I believe that you should do that. आखिर करना क्या है? Copy paste तो करना है, yes or no? By making some changes here and there. But देखिए कि whenever I'll share one anecdote with you about the chartered accountant in place called Dahanu, which is about maybe 120 kilometers away from Mumbai, 100 kilometers away from Mumbai. And that's a very invigorating and inspirational story, that if we do our work very well by compliance with accounting standards, the quality of the financial statements is improved immensely. And the reader will definitely appreciate कि नहीं ये बंदे ने अच्छा काम किया. Yes, he will appreciate. And I'll tell you, once I tell the story, you'll have one more reason for compliance with accounting standards. So now let us come to the subject, the classification of non-company. I repeat, non-corporate से हटके change किया, बदलाव किया, non-company, because they wanted to keep LLP outside this. So in other words, this standard is these changes of four levels are not applicable to LLPs. So LLPs will be governed by the existing criteria of level 1, 2, and 3. They are all known as a small and micro and medium and small enterprises. So level 1 is large size entities, again non-company. Level 2 is a medium size. Level 3 is a small size, and level 4 is a micro. So level 2, 3, and 4 are collectively referred as MSME. Friend, when I had given this session on 29th of April to at WSC, I had attached there with an Excel file. And in the Excel file, the applicability of standard was beginning from level 2, 3, and 4. And then I got many calls. Sir, it seems you missed out level 1. But then they forgot to read one line that level 1 entities, as far as level 1 entities are concerned, all standards are applicable. There was no exception to it. But I to make this Excel file more meaningful and comprehensive for you, I have added one more column, level 1, because all that I had to do is just copy that it's applicable. All standards are applicable to level 1 non-company entities, and we'll see what these level 1 entities are. There's a huge increase, substantial increase in the threshold criteria for the applicable to level 1 non-company entities. Now, this announcement is not relevant for the non-company entities which may be required to follow the Ind AS. Yes. Now, if a partnership firm is considered as a joint venture or a subsidiary by an entity which is required to follow the Ind AS, then this criteria will not be applicable to such firms. We have seen that many companies in which is required to follow the Ind AS may have something called joint venture entities, joint ventures, and joint ventures normally take form of either the partnership firm or an LLP. If it is an LLP, no issue about it, because this criteria is not applicable to LLP. Again, to repeat and reiterate, because LLP is considered as a corporate entity, whereas firm is considered as a non-company entity. But there is a partnership firm and it has a JV, it is a joint venture of a company which is required to follow the Ind AS. Then this exemption, this criteria is not applicable to such partnership firm. This is what they mean to say by making this kind of a clarification. All right, now let us look at the level 1, which was there, which is there even today for the for the companies, corporate entities. And what erstwhile they would say the they had defined level 1, level 2 already, but now they've changed the words from non-corporate entities to non-company entities, the very first change. Okay. Now, what you to see that at the end of the relevant accounting period, now, whenever you see any criteria, friends, whether it is for the CARO or it is for the level 1, level 2, level 3, or even for the small companies definition under the Companies Act, or I would say wherever there are the limits which is related to the turnover, related to the bank borrowings or net worth, you must always read very carefully, is it during the year? At any point of time at any point of time during the year, or at the end of the reporting period or preceding period. Look at the definition of small company turnover. The turnover criteria for the small company is based on the turnover of the preceding year, immediate previous year. Correct, sir? So be careful about the applicability of this threshold limit, whether they are linked to which date, which period, current, previous, if current, at any point in time, or at the end of the reporting period. Now, first change is the entities whose debt or equity are listed or are in process of listing on the stock exchange, whether India or outside. Now, this was the earlier criteria. Now the criteria is entities whose securities are listed or in process of any stock exchange, whether in India or outside India or SE. So in this case, they will change one phraseology from equity and debt and replaced by the securities. But this is just a refinement of the definition. It has not made any changes as compared to the earlier. Even if the word securities have been replaced, has replaced the word equity and debt instrument. How? I'll tell you. If you look at the definition given in the SECRA of the securities, subsection 8 of H of section 2 says, defines the securities include shares, scrips, stocks, bonds, and debenture. So the word security as it is includes the debt securities also. So no big changes. Absolutely correct. Now you may ask me a question. Okay, there is a non-company, and how a non-company will be listed or in process of being listed. In process of listed, we can understand that they want to apply for this, but then it has to be private limited. It has to be a corporate entity. How can a non-corporate entity get listed? Are you getting my point? Gaurang bhai, आप समझ रहे मैं क्या कहना चाहता हूँ?
Yes, sir. Yes, I
See
had the
that, I
same
mean,
question.
huh, how a non-company be getting listed? Yes, but then cooperative societies, like for example, Amul Dairy, correct? IFCO, they are non-company entities, but they are still listed. Should I tell you one thing? The government of India is a listed entity because government securities are listed. Are you getting my point, sir? So the
Yes.
point is that it is not necessary that only a limited company will get listed. Because in fact, honestly, when I was discussing this with the vice chairman of the accounting standard board, Dr. Sanjeev Singhal, then the secretary accounting standard board, Parminder Kaur, and the some other people. So then I asked them, sir, I am intrigued, because I wanted to be double sure and I want to hear from the horse's mouth. Because ये दुविधा, ये क्वेश्चन सबके दिमाग में आ सकता है. Yes or no, गौरंग भाई?
Yes, sir. Even I had the
नमस्कार
same question.
सत्यनारायण जी, नमस्कार. यज्ञेश, कैसे हैं सर? बहुत देर से आपसे देख रहा हूँ, मन चाहता है कि आपको हेलो कहूं, बट अब मैं मुझसे रहा नहीं गया. मेरे को हेलो जी, हाउ आर यू सर? प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ एंड से कुछ तो बताइए सर, प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ सर. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही. गौरंग, काइंडली अनम्यूट हिम प्लीज.
Absolutely fine.
नमस्कार सर. आज एक देसाई दूसरे देसाई को कहते हैं कि नमस्कार जी.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
और कैसे सब खैरियत? सब ऑल आर गुड?
Everything is fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
You
Thank
seem to be in the office, sir, like me.
Yeah.
अच्छा. कुछ भी बोलो सर. ये घर पे वो जब सीटी की आवाज आती है प्रेशर कुकर की, तो सर मूड नहीं लगता है काम करने का. चलिए. Anyway, sir, thank you. So I sought this clarification, correct? That what do you mean by non-company being getting listed? Because ये सवाल हर किसी के मन में आ सकता है कि पार्टनरशिप कहाँ से लिस्टिंग होगी सर, है ना? So then I got a clarification. So I must admit two things. Even I was confused myself. Correct, sir? Because I am not a complete man like Raymond's. मेरी भी दुविधा हो सकती है, समस्या हो सकती है. Okay, मैं complete man नहीं हूँ. Okay, so this is a clarification. I think I must pass it on to you with due credit to Dr. Sanjeev Singhal and Paramjit Kaur and our head honchos, the Bhishma Pitama of Accounting Standard, MP Vijay Kumar ji. So they clarified this this confusion. आप देख रहे हैं कि there is something called social stock exchange. एक नया exchange आने वाला है कुछ महीनों में, कुछ सालों में. It's totally new concept. It's not come to the India as yet, but it is going to come. So basically, if you go to see what change they made, the change they made is initially the criteria for the non-company entities was 50 crore rupees, which has now been increased 5 times to 50 crore rupees. That means a company which was there in level 1 more than 50, which was there, 250 crore तक का उनको क्वेश्चन मिल गया, and that you'll see appreciate when you see the level 2 comparisons. Okay. Now the one criteria is that now here can you see, sir? All entities engaged in commercial, industrial, or business activities whose turnover, excluding other income, exceeds rupees 250 crores in the immediate preceding accounting year. So the criteria is not this year, immediate preceding accounting year. सर ये ही लुभावनी एक इल्यूसिव डेफिनेशन स्मॉल कंपनी की कही है, जो मैं आपको फिर से रिपीट करना चाहता हूँ कि इट्स नॉट द करंट ईयर्स थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट, बट इट इज द प्रीसीडिंग ईयर्स थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट. सर एक आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट की बात कहूँ, गौरांग भाई, कैन आई हैव योर परमिशन टू से समथिंग?
Yes, sir.
बिकॉज मैं इनकम टैक्स को इसमें मिक्स करना चाहता हूँ, इनकम टैक्स को. ओके, आपको लगेगा कि वाईएमडी को क्या हो गया, अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड पे हमने व्याख्यान के लिए बुलाया और इनकम टैक्स पे चल बसे. रीजन ये है, एंड दिस हैज हैपेंड रिसेंटली इन दिस फाइनेंशियल ईयर. थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड बताऊं कि अप टू 5 crore rupees of turnover, if your majority, I mean 95%, more than 95% of the transactions may be sale and purchases, if they were by way of a check or other than the cash, then they were exempt from the audit, tax audit. Am I right, sir? बराबर है ना मेरा नॉलेज इनकम टैक्स का? हाँ, they were exempt from the tax audit. Conditions apply. Now, this financial year, so this was for assessment year 2021, and again this was a retrospective amendment. This was a retrospective amendment, so it was applied in assessment year 2021 also. That means financial year 1920, it was applicable. Now, the normal impression about the TDS is that if the tax audit was there, then only they want to deduct tax at source in the subsequent year. Yes or no? Tax audit in the preceding financial year. So many entities, companies, clients, in fact, office staff people, they say that, sir, इनको TDS नहीं लगेगा. ऐसे क्यों नहीं लगेगा? They are not supposed to deduct tax at source. ऐसे क्यों लगेगा कि सर उनका tax audit नहीं था? So ये mistake हो सकती है, because then they have changed the criteria of the tax applicability of the tax TDS, right? 10 number, and they removed the words that tax audit, but they instead they have put the inserted the limits for that, जो applicable होती थी अगर tax audit applicable होता तो. Are you getting my point? What I'm trying to tell you? So that was also a criteria which was for the preceding year. So वो mistakes normally हो सकती है, because सालों से हम यही सोच के आए कि tax audit अगर assessment year 2021 में है तो financial year 2021 में they should start deducting tax at source. But काफी लोगों ने ऐसा किया था. So the point is that we have to be very careful about the immediate preceding year. अच्छा, एक और भी बदलाव लाए थे this budget in the threshold limits of the small companies. Threshold limit for the small companies, which has been revised as under that 50 lakhs turnover has been paid up capital limit has been increased to 2 crore rupees, and a turnover which was 2 crore rupees has been increased to 20 crore rupees. But mind you friends, this changes are applicable for financial year 21-22 and not financial year 2021. Just be careful. ये outside of stump का bowling में कर रहा हूँ sir. I'm trying to hit the ball of outside of stump, correct? But just as a matter of clarification, if you know, nothing like that. But if you have any doubt, let me, because we were under, everybody was in the impression that it is a relaxation. So this is the clarification I think I should have given you. So can you, this is one thing that, now coming back to this slide, thank you for allowing me the deviation, Gaurang Bhai and Satyendra ji. Okay. And then the, let us see the turnover, the deposits, the borrowings from the banks in the financial institution. Now again, immediately preceding accounting year, at any time in the immediate preceding accounting year. So we have to be very careful about these words and phrases and holding in subsidy of any entities of war, right? So point of such entities. So the point is that they've increased the limits from 50 crores to 250 crores, and the borrowings from 10 crores to again 50 crore rupees. Level 2, now can you see that exceeds the rupees 50 lakhs turnover, but does not exceed rupees 250 crore. Now here they've increased the limit of the turnover from 50 crores to but not exceeding 250 crore rupees. So then entity which was there in level 1 is now been delegated to level 2. Now you'll find that, sir, what is the idea of discussing this level 1, 2, 3, 4? क्या उसका मकसद बताएंगे हमें? क्या वजह है? What is the rationale of level 1, 2, 3, 4? The rationale and the reason of level 1, 2, 3, 4 is that level 1 entities, all standards are applicable. Level 2, 3, and 4, there are relaxations in the applicability of the accounting standards. And level 4, as you can see, must be the balancing, must be the which is not covered by any one of level 1, 2, and 3 entities. And there you'll see there's a lot of relaxations. We will discuss in detail about the relaxations given for what. At this point in time, I must say something. Any accounting standards has got 4 elements. A, recognition. B, measurement. C, presentation. And D, disclosures. As regards the applicability or the relaxations to level 2, 3, and 4 entities are concerned, the major relaxation is by view of the disclosures. Except entity level number 4, well, there is one standard which is not applicable to level 4 entities at all. It is not applicable to any entities at all. अनिल भाई नमस्कार जी. अनिल जी आप जरा इस वीडियो पे ठीक से आइए. I think I remember you, अनिल जी. अनिल शाह साहब, आप दर्शन देंगे प्लीज. I think you need to set up your video very well. Anil ji, I think a couple of years back when I had delivered the session, he was there. So I just wanted to say hello to him. Anyway, that's fine. So we'll discuss that the major relaxations are concerning the disclosures, except one standard, which is the impairment 28 is not applicable to level 4 entity. And as far as AS22 is concerned, there is a relaxation in the measurement of the deferred tax measurement. They have to comply with the current tax, but the exception has the relief has been given for the compliance of the deferred tax. So anyway, coming back to this slide, you can see that the entity which was covered in level 1 has now been come to level 2. And same is the criteria for the turnover. Anilji, can you please put off your video, because Gaurang just put a special personal message to Anilji requesting him to put off his video. Yeah, thank you. And so the level 1 has come to level 2, and same is the case with the it is 1 crore but not in excess of 10 crores. So now here, what was the upper limit is the threshold limit, not in excess of 10 crores but not in excess of 50 crore rupees. So this is about level 3. Level 3 was a catch all the balance in the earlier criteria, which here now has been increased to turnover exceeding 50 crore rupees but not exceeding 50 crore rupees. So a level 2 entity is now come to level 3, and same is the case with the turnover. So what happens to an entity which has the turnover less than 10 crore rupees, and the entity, I would say, non-company entity, and the borrowing less than 2 crore rupees, they will be covered by level 4 entities. A new entity, a new classification, level 4. So this is now here. Now this clarification, there was a confusion, and this has been cleared by Dr. Sanjeev Singhal in my session for the WRC when he had deliberated in a nutshell about these changes. And he has made it very clearly that as far as level 4 is concerned, both the conditions must be complied with, okay, together, same like the Companies Act definition of the small company. So here there's a one catch. We will discuss about this. We'll discuss about the applicability. This is the table which we'll discuss later on. So let me first dwell upon the other topic. I'm going to study together with you an Excel sheet which has been prepared and which has been prepared by my office assistant. This is not my work, so I give full credit to them. Now here is a summary of applicability of exemptions. As far as level 1 is concerned, all standards are applicable. So in my table, I have confined this comparison to level 2, 3, and 4. Level 1 is not missed out in view of this clarification. All AS accounting standards are applicable to level 1 non-company entities. Now, as you can see, friends, okay, as far as the fully applicabilities are concerned, level 2, 16 standards are fully applicable out of 27 standards. Level 3 is concerned, 12 standards are fully applicable. You can see the number of applicability of is going down from 16 to 12 and then to 8. And kya muqaddar ki baat hai? 16 minus 4 is 12, 12 minus 4 is 8. Okay, just a coincidence. Now, applicable with disclose and not applicable. 7 standards are not applicable to almost all entities. 7 standards are not applicable to all entities, whether it is level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4 are concerned. As far as level 3 is concerned, the non-applicable standard has been increased from 7 to 9, and again there is a difference of 2 only, so 7, 9, and 11. Okay, as far as four categories concerned, 11 standards are not applicable at all. You see the kind of relaxation which has been given to the entity number 4, category number 4. But honestly, sir, tell me one thing: how many of us have been following the applicability of accounting standard for the attest function? Dil se bataye sir, chaliye. I don't want answer from anyone. The answer is going to be no. Friends, let us do our work diligently. All that you need to do is create a template once, and then, as usual, we say copy paste, right? Okay, and ask them to do with sense, with some kind of application of mind that look, copy paste में कहीं accounting year copy paste ना हो जाए. Okay, I can show you one public listed company's balance sheet wherein it was for March 2018 cash flow statement, and the comparative was, instead of 17 it was 16. One listed company had made an error in calculation of earning per share. Now I'm giving you some gyan of Ind AS. Ind AS is applicable to the listed companies and holding, subsidiary, associates, and JVs of such listed company. And there's something called earning per share. At the same time, there is something called income, comprehensive income, and total comprehensive income. Those who are a bit conversant with the Ind AS must be aware of it. There is something called income, then other comprehensive income, and total comprehensive income. Now the EPS is to be calculated with reference to income / profit after tax and before OCI, other comprehensive income. But the presentation is such a faulty that it is presented like this: income after tax, OCI stands for other comprehensive income, and total comprehensive income, which is a total of 1 and 2. And after that, there is a column earning per share. This is the big fault in the presentation given by the SEBI, because the reader is then likely to get an impression that this EPS has been calculated with reference to the TCI. TCI stands for the total comprehensive income, correct? And that company had by mistake calculated the EPS with reference to TCI and not the profit after tax, which is before the OCI. So such kind of small errors can take place, but with a caveat, you can always tell your friends. And sir, one thing I realized, sir, that even this is my experience about 10 to 15 years back. Honestly, sir, in the initial phase of the career, more than the compliance and all these, लोगों का ध्यान, including मेरा भी रहता है कि कुछ भी करके काम करो, client लाओ, पैसे कमाओ, and base establish कीजिए. Nothing wrong about it. But then in that process, one loses sight, as your convenient Gaurang has said, that you lose sight of the accounting standard. Sir, वो दिन चल गए, अब नहीं चलने वाला है. वो दिन चल गए, sir. The reason being, Now the institute has set up something called, as far as the accounting standards are concerned, the compliance of the accounting standards are concerned, there's something called FRRB, right, sir? FRRB. So this is the applicability of the accounting standards with the for the listed companies and all this. So financial reporting and the review board. Then they have a group also, and they review the financial statements. They get this information about the review from the SEBI and from the ROC, and sometimes the private limited companies are picked up randomly. Then these are being reviewed and reviewed threadbare. Threadbare means धर्जियां उड़ा देते हैं, बहुत डिटेल में तहकीकात करते हैं, and they see whether the compliance is made on all respect correctly or not. And then if everything goes well, it's fine. If not, then disciplinary action. As far as tax reports are concerned, CAG has given the reports that the compliance is very pathetic about the income tax clauses. Of course, but they were not touching about accounting aspect, accounting standards aspect. Now, Institute of CA has set up a tax audit review board. And Institute of CA is going to review the tax audit reports on a random basis. In that case, they will not confine the possibility of confine the scrutiny or the detailed investigation of the income tax rules and applicability, whether you commented correctly or not, whether it matches with the accounting, the books of accounts or not, whether again it tallies with the return of income file, those matches or not, but also the applicability of accounting standard. So, sir, wo din chal gaye. Now chalne wala nahi hai. I cleared my CA back in 1983, and that is one of the reasons that I could become CA, because there were hardly any accounting standards and auditing standards. Okay, honestly, if I am being asked to appear for the exam, I would surrender my CA degree and say कि भाई ये मेरे बस का काम नहीं है. इतना बड़ा व्याप हो गया CA students, CA studies के बाद में पूछो. So I hold the new generation in a very high esteem, because they are learning something which MBA students are learning. They are learning something which is being learned by some other consultants and all these different laws and all this. So, but in a nutshell, please, thoda sa dhyan dijiye, sir. Thoda sa dhyan dijiye and see that. All right. Now, the third category is applicable with disclosure exemption. Now, this disclosure exemptions are a bit onerous and they are in great detail. So, they've said that itni गहराई में मत जाइए, at least थोड़ा सा भी आप we are giving you relaxation about that, and that is mostly concerning the lease and the AS15. Yeah, AS15, there's one more line. This is there, it was there in earlier non-company entities, and they have retained this for the it was there in the earlier non-corporate entities, but now they retain to the non-company entities. Earlier it was there for the SMA entities, now it is written for the NCE. And applicability partial. Now, this is an exemption that AS22 dealing with income taxes has given an exemption for the recognition and measurement both for the deferred tax liability. Fine. Now, I have made some summary here. Are not applicable to all four entities, and these are not applicable. There are seven standards which are not at all not at all applicable to the like very one of these applicable to all the entities. All the entities is just a minute, please. They are applicable to all the entities. That is the A standards disclosure. Now, disclosure of accounting policy, sir, I got a very interesting, they are applicable to all four entities. Disclosure of accounting policy, sir, I got a very interesting anecdote, and I'm going to show this to you right away. Allow me a minute. I'm freezing this slide and taking you to something which is very shocking. So I'm freezing this span and taking you to another one. Okay. Friends, can you see something on your screen? The financial year 18-19. Can you see a PDF file, guys? Gaurang bhai, can you see?
Yes, sir.
Now this is from a private limited company, and again it's not some a mafioso place like level 3 level 4 city or कोई गांव देहाती private limited company की balance sheet नहीं है. This is a balance sheet from uh, level 1 city. I don't want to give the name of the city. Now you this notes forming part of accounts for the year ended 31st March 2019 has been prepared. There is no mention of section 133 of the Companies Act. Either it is a Ind AS accounting standard or AS Companies Accounting Rules 2006, 2015. Naturally, it's a private limited company, तो जिक्र होना चाहिए था 2006. Events after the date of the balance sheet. Now, this is not something to be disclosed immediately after the basis or the method of accounting or the basis of preparation. Correct? Material events occurred after the balance sheet are taken into cognizance. Now, what events? In the first place, placement of this paragraph is utterly wrong and is very distorting. Income and expenditure recognition. Now, he has not used the word properly. What do you mean by income and expenditure recognition? It's a very wide term. It should be a revenue recognition. Correct? And then all these expenses. Now, income and expenditure are generally accounted for on the accrual basis, except for uncertain, unforeseen, immaterial, or insignificant transactions. सत्येंद्र जी, सत्यनारायण जी, क्या समझे आप इसमें? सत्यनारायण जी, unmute yourself. Gaurav,
Yes, sir.
क्या समझे साहब इसमें? Income and expenditure are generally accounted for on accrual basis, except uncertain, unforeseen, immaterial, or now this the placement recognition revenue के लिए बात ही नहीं करते. अब आइए revenue में क्या कहते हैं? Regarding material consumption, we would like to specifically bring to notice that after the success in fruits, now we have started off and successfully launched the products of express ready to eat meal. Tangible assets, fixed assets are stated as costs comprised of the purchase price, directly attributable cost of the bringing to asset to its working conditions for the intended use, any trade discount fine. Assets under installation, it is also fine. But sir, depreciation, that is also fine. Companies Act, गनीमत ही इन्होंने Schedule 3 लिखा है, and Companies Act 2013. एक listed company, financial year 2016, one of the very, not listed, public limited company, they had used the word till 2017 that Schedule 14 of the Companies Act 1956. ये और horror है copy paste का. So copy paste कीजिए, हम भी करते हैं, नहीं करते ऐसा नहीं, but थोड़ा ध्यान देके करिए, right sir? And now you see employee benefits. The number of fixed employee is not above the limit, and the daily wages is more than the loss of the employee benefits, that is PFI, ASIC is not taken into consideration. Sir, ये है quality of the accounting standards policy disclosure. So this is an extreme case. I don't think any of your Andheri West Study Circle is using such kind of policies. I am very much confident of it. Itna to vishwas hai mujhe. But the point is, well, this does not mean that you guys are doing this, but the point is that one should be very careful about it. एक दूसरी भी समस्या है that small and medium enterprises partnership with CA fraternity firms are facing a big challenge in terms of the manpower. They are not getting the proper manpower. Even if they are groomed, 2-3 साल 3 client 4 client का काम किया, they get well versed, but बाद में वो चले जाते हैं. So there is a problem faced by other people. They don't have time to make studies, research. कहाँ से time करे सब? जब GST में 1000 से ऊपर changes आए since 2017, very difficult to keep track of. Very difficult to keep track of the changes in the Companies Act. Correct, sir? Gaurang, I must tell you something. Anand Bhai has prepared a very good statement on the applicability of section 73, 74, 75, 76, acceptance of deposit. And chiefly 73 is applicable to the companies, private companies, which can borrow funds from the members or the directors, and there are some various limits and exemptions. So he has done a very nice document for you. So if नेक्स्ट टाइम कभी आधे घंटे के लिए कभी टाइम है ऐसा कुछ है 1 घंटे के लिए तो बोला ना हम 170 applicability of this acceptance of deposits के लिए we will tell you that and we did a very good analysis and कुछ नहीं सर इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं सर put off this 3 to 4 hours sit down in isolation and study the act and rule. Go to the MCA site, go to ebook, you get the latest version. There, it's such a good thing that it is given. They've given the link to the rules and all this. They've also given the history of what change was made, what changes were made in which year, and all kind of thing. So ये deposit के मामला है जब मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि is done a very nice tool for that. अब दूसरी बात सर कि small and medium and CA firms has got many problems. So naturally they don't get time about these compliances. कहाँ से ढूंढे research करे वक्त कहाँ से निकाले. ICA has done a great job, and I know that WRC has come out with the model financial statements format and the audit reports applicable to the small, medium, private limited companies. Because जब तक about till 2015-16, everyone was copying annual report of the listed companies. Notes to accounts. इसमें कोई बुरी बात नहीं, but साहब कहाँ से लाएंगे इतने? But then they were sensibly changing also. But now the question arises: accounting standards applicable to private limited company, where to get the proper audit report format? Correct, sir? Notes कहाँ से लाए? Because these are all listed company follow the Ind AS, and these are the As. Correct? So Institute has sought this problem and come out with the model financial statements for the private limited companies and also the audit report and notes to accounts and all this. So please make sure that you have this kind of thing. And I'll give another example of the cash flow statement. Fortunately, friends, आज के विषय में cash flow statement is one standard which is not applicable to level 2, level 3 and level 4 enterprises. So it is not इतने मायने नहीं रखता है, but still, sir, I'll tell you कि you all doing private limited companies account, no denying about it. And I'll show you something. Just a minute. This is the cash flow statement of the same private limited company, which has given the notes to accounts like that. Gaurang ji, I must say that there are 58 members. How many members do you have, Gaurang ji? Gaurang beta?
Around 120, 125.
120 की तुलना में अगर 58 आए, that means virtually is 50% is a good. So I'm clapping for the presence of all the members. Salam dosto. Okay, salam, really great. मान गए sir, appreciate. So this is the cash flow statement, and now you see, sir, at least मैं तो तय नहीं कर पाया कि कौन सा format है, is it the direct method या indirect method, मैं इसमें कुछ समझ नहीं पाया sir. Correct sir. So ये एक बड़ा issue है कि सर देखो ना क्या है वो समझ ही नहीं पाता सर. And it is one of the level 1 city of India sir. लेवल 1 सिटी ऑफ इंडिया की ये बैलेंस शीट में दे रहा हूँ सर. सो कहने का ऐसा है, एक दूसरी भी एक समस्या है सर. मैं सर आई एम नॉट क्रिटिकल ऑफ आवर प्रोफेशनल ब्रदर्स, बट दे आल्सो देयर ओन टिपिकल प्रॉब्लम्स. सर लास्ट डे कौन सी है? 30 सितंबर ना. अच्छा 20 तारीख तक कैसे भी करके मैं टैली भेज देता हूँ. ओके, बाद में मैं चला जाऊंगा, 1-2 दिन रहूंगा. आपको जो है मुझे बोल देना, बाद में अपने हिसाब से कर देना है. क्या अपना हिसाब करने का सर. टैली अकाउंट भेजते वी हैव टू मेक द कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट, वी हैव टू प्रिपेयर एवरीथिंग. वो अकाउंटिंग मुकादम जैसे समझ लेते सर. जो भी कुछ आए अकाउंट सर आपको क्यों करने का. नाउ इफ यू टॉक ऑफ दिस डिस्क्लोजर ऑल दिस सर, इतना करना है क्या रियली सर? वो आप जाने अभी सब, आप तो इतने साल से मतलब घर का कंपनी समझ के करो नहीं के काम करना होता है तो घर का कंपनी. और पैसे की बात आता है तो अरे सर क्या सर अभी देखो ना इतना अभी चल रहा है सर, इतना कोविड में सर आप तो देखते हैं ना. और वो डब्बा मुझे बोल रहा है कि मैं फॉरेन जाके आया. तभी कोविड नहीं लगा उसको सर, तभी कोविड नहीं लगा, बाकी को नहीं लगा. राइट, वो लोनावाला कोविड में जाके बैठा 6 महीना, तब उसको कोविड हो, तब उसको इकोनॉमी की वो डिप्रेशन नहीं लगा सर. हाँ, वहां से 6 महीने वहां जाके बैठे थे मेरे क्लाइंट. वो बोलते हैं देखो ना सर धंधा भी डाउन है. मेरे को हाँ एस्टेट डाउन में भी अब 6 महीना लोनावाला जाके हायर करके बैठे बंगलो तो चलता है सर. सो लास्ट मोमेंट पे आके देते हैं सर. फिर वो मुझे सीए भी क्या करेगा सर. एक तो 10 दिन के पहले सब स्लाइड स्लो हो जाती. जो काम 10 मिनट में होता था आधे घंटे में उसका सीधा लगता है टाइम पौना पौना घंटा आधा घंटा चलती नहीं. वैसे तपस्या करके बैठो चलो 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 चलो. करेक्ट सर. और बेचारा वो क्या बोलेगा, अबे भाई एक काम करने छोड़ने लास्ट ईयर जो कि ऐसा करके देख लेते हो ना. सो ये समस्या है. दे हैव देयर ओन प्रॉब्लम, आई डोंट से. बट these are all extreme cases of the non-compliance. बहुत से incidents and anecdotes है sir. बहुत से sir. Listed company. Now I tell you this information I got from one of the my friends who is working with the accounting standard board. He said Yagnesh भाई ये जो मैं नॉन लिस्टेड की बात क्लैरिफिकेशन के लिए कुछ लोगों से बात कर रहा था, उनका सर ये ऐसे क्या बात करते साहब. इंडेस कंपनी, लिस्टेड कंपनी एंड बीएससी निफ्टी 50 और 30 में आने वाली कंपनी ने उन्होंने मुझे ब्लैंक आउट करके एक सेंटेंस भेजा. दिस इज कंसर्निंग द गवर्नमेंट ग्रांट. The government grant pursuant to Ind AS 20 is recognized in equity. जबकि सर Ind AS के हिसाब से government grant is never to be recognized in equity. It is to be recognized only and only in income statement. That means profit and loss account, either using the deferral method now or using the net off method. जब पहली बार इंडेस घोषित किया गया इंडिया में, तब it was only the deferral method and no offset method was not allowed. But in 2018 September, बड़े इत्तेफाक की बात है, 18 September 2018 the amendment was made in India's and then thereby they have permitted both the methods. But sir, इक्विटी में तो कभी भी नहीं आता सर. उसके बावजूद भी ये सेंटेंस हमें देखने मिलते हैं. करेक्ट सर. तो कहते हैं ना कि गलती से मिस्टेक हो जाती है. Fine. Well, the idea of this kind of a being critical does not mean two things. It does not mean कि मैं मिस्टेक नहीं करता हूँ, एंड दूसरी बार it does not mean कि आप सब मिस्टेक करते हैं. चाणक्य ने बहुत अच्छी बात कही थी कि people should learn from mistake. But if you think that you have to learn only from your mistake, तो आपको 500 साल भी कम लगेंगे. इतनी मिस्टेक होती है दुनिया में. So what's the best way out? You learn from others' mistakes also. Correct? You can always learn from others' mistakes. Sir, मैं भी मिस्टेक करता था. मैं अभी भी कहता हूँ सब. I am not a complete man like Raymond. हो जाती है मेरे मिस्टेक. मेरे स्टाफ से मिस्टेक. But I tell my staff people that being the captain of the ship, I will shoulder the responsibility. I will shoulder the responsibility of the mistake because ये कहीं ना कहीं मेरी गलती है कि मैंने आपको ग्रूम नहीं किया, मैंने आपका काम नहीं देखा, है ना सर. सो मिस्टेक का इकरार करो, इजहार करो, फाइन. But don't do such an extreme case. This was an extreme case of the non-compliance. यही कंपनी के दूसरे भी कारनामे हैं, but बाद में बताऊंगा, not now. Okay. Now let me come to the slides. Okay. Can you see Gaurang bhai? Can you see the just a minute? Can you see this slide now?
No.
Now can you see this slide?
Yes.
Okay. So these standards are applicable to all the entities. Okay. अब देखिए यहाँ पे AS3 नहीं है, दैट मींस कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट नहीं है. बट व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट सर, वैल्यू ऑफ इन्वेंटरीज एंड ऑल दिस. सो आई केम अक्रॉस वन थिंग दैट they stated that सर मोस्टली इन्वेंटरीज के शेड्यूल में आप वो लोअर ऑफ कॉस्ट और द एनआरवी कई बार लिखते हैं, कई बार नहीं लिखते, बट मेथड ऑफ वैल्यूएशन लिखना जरूरी है. सर ये जो हम देखते हैं कि वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द एनसीई ओनली, दैट मींस नॉन company entities, but I think along with that I'll also give some knowledge of the normal accounting standard, because sir ये standards में बदलाव नहीं हुए. These standards have not been changed. There are no new standards made for the small and medium, micro, small and medium enterprises. The standards are same. केवल उसमें relaxation दिया गया है about the applicability or the non-applicability or the exemption limited way, right? So these are standards. Now that means revenue recognition standard आपकी notes to accounts में ये तो कम से कम बनता ही है. Correct sir? Very clear. Then what is this? Why is not coming? Then these standards are not applicable to all entities. cash flow, segment reporting, earning per share, consolidated financial statements, accounting for investment in associates, consolidated interim financial reporting, and financial reporting of interest in JVs. आप कहेंगे कि बिल्कुल सही बात है सर। एक बात यहाँ पे कहना चाहता हूँ जो शायद मैंने कुछ स्लाइड्स के बाद कहा है, बट ये दिल है कि मानता नहीं कि अभी कह दो। About the AS27 financial reporting of interest in joint ventures. Now, many partnership firms are also having joint ventures, correct? So, ये standards have very clear कहा है कि do you mean to say कि if a partnership firm has a GV with another entity, is it not, will it not be covered by AS27? Answer is no, it will be covered, because they made a sentence that normally by and large such entities are not covered by the is not required to apply the AS27. But if an entity enters into a JV, then it has to apply AS27. अब सही बात है सर, सेगमेंट रिपोर्टिंग कहाँ क्लिक करने जाएंगे? अर्निंग पर शेयर naturally not applicable by default is not applicable because there are no number of shares, and बाकी 21, 23, 25, 27 are all related to the consolidation except the interim financial statement. But very important relaxation they have given is about the cash flow statement. Now again, my dear friend, this is purely from the perspective of the non-company entities. तो कहीं ये गलती ना कर दे कि राकेश रोशन साहब आए थे 8 मई को, उन्होंने कहा कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल टू ऑल लेवल 2, 3, 4 एंटिटीज, और हमारी ये प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी इसमें बैठ जाती है तो हम अप्लाई नहीं करेंगे. नॉट लाइक दैट. देन यू हैव टू अप्लाई द कंपनीज एक्ट. देयर स्मॉल कंपनीज आर गिवन एग्जेम्पशन फॉर दैट. ओके सर, ऑलराइट. And then accounting standards in respect of which level 2, 3, and 4 companies have been given some exemption. So wherever possible, sir, I've tried to put that, is it related to the disclosure or not? Now, if the relaxation has been given about a disclosure, I would say this is, of course, a welcome exemption, but it does not absolve a company from the basic accounting, like the measurement and the recognition and the measurement. But केवल आपको जो रियायत दी गई है, that is for the disclosure, and वो भी खैर कम नहीं है, but still it is not that material, I would say. Now, this is about the exemption for the property plant equipment, wherein paragraph 87 has been given. Sir, property plant equipment के बारे में एक चीज है जो कि अब ये मैं विंडोज से हट के कुछ और विंडो में चला जाता हूं, and that window is about AS10 property plant equipment. अब कुछ मिनटों के लिए आप भूल जाइए कि हम लेवल 1, लेवल 2, लेवल 3 और लेवल 4 की बात कर रहे, या हम नॉन कॉर्पोरेट एंटिटीज की बात कर रहे. मैं अब बात कर रहा हूं AS10 which is applicable to private limited companies and public limited companies. AS10 property plant equipment. वो ऐसी गलतफहमी होती है जैसे लोग टैक्स ऑडिट TDS के लिए एप्लीकेबिलिटी में करते हैं. टैक्स ऑडिट नहीं है, TDS is not applicable for this financial year, but they're forgetting that there's a big change in the applicability. In the same manner, there is one thing which has been brought in for AS10 property plant equipment revised, and this is applicable from accounting period beginning from April 1st, 2016. So आज तो खैर है. अब देखिए, अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज के बारे में बहुत बड़ा बदलाव आया है. Method of depreciation under the erstwhile AS10 and AS6, हमारे जो पुराने AS10 और 6 जिनका विलय हुआ है AS10 प्रॉपर्टी प्लान इक्विपमेंट्स रिवाइज में, उनके मुताबिक method of depreciation was considered to be an accounting policy, and as a result of which a change in accounting policy was to be applied retrospectively. हम सब जानते हैं कि when we do the change in accounting policy, this is to be applied retrospectively. Quite rightly so, under the regime of AS10 and 6, when an entity used to change an accounting policy concerning the method of depreciation, either from WDV to SLM or vice versa, Mostly changes होते थे after the Companies Act 2013 from the WDV to SLM method. So that was to be accounted retrospectively. And we used to have something called a prior period item, error or prior period item in the profit and loss account in the year in which we make the changes. That was a very cumbersome job. अब देखिए बदलाव क्या आया? There's a paradigm change brought in by AS10 Property Plan Equipment Revised. Under AS10, the method of depreciation is now considered as an estimate and not an accounting policy anymore. I repeat this sentence. Under AS10 revised property plan equipment, the method of depreciation is now considered as an estimate and not a accounting policy anymore. As a result of which, any changes in the estimate any changes in the method of depreciation is considered as a change in an estimate. And since it is considered as a change in an estimate, the accounting for this change will now be required to be applied prospectively and not retrospectively. Because we all know that rectification of error is always retrospective. I'm talking of AS10, AS only, not Indies. Change in accounting policy is also accounted for retrospectively, and change in an estimate is always accounted for prospectively. So ये बहुत बड़ा बदलाव है. So if you want to change an accounting policy from WDV to SLM or vice versa, please make sure that you don't need to apply this change retrospectively, but you can very well apply this change prospectively. If I'm not mistaken, this requirement is there in paragraph 53 of AS10, which is not that material because you can always have look at the standard and verify it. But कहना ये जरूरी था, बताना जरूरी था कि अगर depreciation की मेथड में बदलाव करते हैं तो ये अब नए स्टैंडर्ड के तहत it will be considered as a change in an estimate and not change in a method of not in accounting policy anymore. Yeah, I thought it was important for me to mention, and that's why I mentioned it here. Okay, sir. And I hope Gaurang, it was a good deviation. You permitted me a
Yes,
good
yes.
deviation. Am I right, Gaurang?
Yes,
And I'm sure you must be aware of it. Perhaps there's no the idea of sharing this does not mean that I'm underestimating you and I'm thinking that it is not to the to your knowledge, but I think it was ये दिल थे कि मानता नहीं तो मैंने बोला कह डालो ये बात. ठीक है, चलो. So this is the exemption, and again this exemption is concerning disclosure. So wherever possible, friends, I put a remark that whether this disclosure is pertaining to the whether this exemption is pertaining to the disclosure or measurement. Mostly they are concerning disclosures. That means at minimum the accounting treatment must be followed unless the entire standard itself is not applicable, like AS3. Then again, accounting for investment is concerning the disclosure. Now, about this point, I must bring to your notice one question which was asked which is being asked very frequently is about the investment property. Investment property is a property which is given on the rentals, and maybe it has to be naturally an immobile property, whether it could be land or building. The question people normally ask, should we depreciate investment property? Answer is yes, unless it is a land. So just be careful. Investment property होने के बावजूद भी इसे आप depreciate करना जरूरी है. All right, now this exemption is concerning the investment. This is again all you can see about the disclosure. Now accountings, this is about AS 15 employee cost. The same exemption have been retained. If you go to see paragraph 46, 139 of the standard, we deal with the discounting amount that will fall during 12 months. Now this is concerning the leave salary. It could be accumulating, non-accumulating. Non-accumulating leave this, if you don't avail of the leave, it gets lapsed. Accumulating means the one which is accumulating and maybe 12 months, 2 months, 12 months, 24 months, 2 years, 3 years, so forth. So in that case, when you make a provision, you have to discount because the time value is material. You don't need to do the discounting factor of all this, which is exactly as per the earlier one. Then about paragraph 50 to 16 is presentation disclosure required in paragraph concerning the account with defined benefit plans. Defined benefit plans के काफी लंबे disclosure requirement है जिसमें रियायत दी गई है. So this is about the measurement. This is about the disclosure, and again the recognition and measurement principle laid down in respect to the other long-term benefits. So यहाँ पे sorry, it is recognition and measurement both. So this is the relaxation given to the small entities, level 2 and level 3 entities. Okay, now these are the disclosures for the requirement for the lease standards. And when it comes to lease, there are 4 elements. One is from the lesser point of view. Second is the lessee point of view. Then lesser finance lease, operating lease, and lessee again finance lease and operating. So there are 4 variants of this thing. So these, if you see all this paragraph 25 or maybe paragraph 22 or 37 or 46, these are nothing but the 4 variants of the same one item, and that is about the disclosures concerning the minimum lease payments, the lease rentals for not later than 1 year, that means less than 1 year. Then later than 1 year, that more than 1 year but less than 5 years, and more than 5 years. So these are to be exempted. And again about the purchase option escalation clauses and all this. So this is a relaxation from the lease. So lease mein I saw the balance sheet, or then I talked to the chartered accountant brother of mine. So I said, आपने rent दिखाया है, but ये disclosure नहीं था because it was not a level 2, 3 or 4, level 2 or 3 company. तो नहीं सर, वो तो रेंट है, और आप जो बोल रहे हो तो ऑपरेटिंग लीज के लिए सर. My dear friend, operating lease and rent is one of the same thing, correct sir? So भूल जाते हैं इसे. See, no one could have noticed that, but once it comes to the notice of someone, then it could have very devastating impact. Now I'll share one anecdote with you. Just allow me to grasp the water. एक छोटी सी प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी. In that company, they had some investments which are listed investments. So when it comes to the disclosures about the investments which are listed, and plus they were unlisted. So basically listed ke liye there are 2 items. One is the cost at which they are carrying, and second is the market value, correct, of this listed investments. It is not accounted for it is not, these figures are not taken into account for recognition of income, but unless it is a trading item, but it is a long-term investment and they had shown at the cost only. That fellow forgot to write this thing. By mistake, the market value was same as the cost. Ho gayi thi mistake. Ideally, normally, no one would have noticed this and taken any action against it. But there was a dispute between 2 partners, 2 shareholders. And that other shareholder wanted to take some revenge on the other party. तो बोला, बेटे को दिखाता हूँ, चलो तुम्हारी बैलेंस शीट में कितनी गलतियां है. तो he has given this work to someone else. आप देखो इसमें कितनी मिस्टेक है, भर भर के मिस्टेक निकालो, चाहे वो टैक्स ऑडिट रिपोर्ट हो, ये हो. तो that other CA found some errors and reported to him. This fellow reported this to ROC. Now see what has happened to that chartered accountant. He got a whip from the ROC. Then he has to give a lot of explanation. Ultimately, by the grace of God, he came out sketch-free, of course, but not without paying something at a huge cost. So you may think that क्या होने वाला है सर, अपनी कंपनी का आरओसी को कहां टाइम में देखने वाले. But such things can go against you. You never know. And parties, when they come, sir, they want to get their things done. They will go to any extent. नहीं सर कर दो ना, कौन देखने वाला है सब जो. But something goes wrong, no one is going to stand by you. They simply say, सही करूंगा सर. मतलब नहीं, सयाजी गोष्ठी नहीं, सही की बात नहीं है सर. This is the attestation. This is question of my degree. कितनी मेहनत के बाद हम हासिल करते हैं सर, है ना. तो उसका बचाना हमारा धर्म है. That's our intangible assets, and let us not give a chance for its impairment. Okay, all right. So the idea is just a caution. They don't think that our company cannot. Now here is one standard which is partially applicable to level 4 entities, and it says that to put it differently, level 4 entities need not recognize the deferred tax assets and liabilities. What is the traditional requirement? Why, I don't know what is this. On the first occasion when a non-company, that is fine. That okay. Now this is the transitional requirement. This is the transitional requirement. The only transitional requirement in this standard, in this declaration or the clarification. On the first occasion when a non-company entity gets classified as level 4 entity, the accumulated deferred tax assets and liabilities appearing in the financial statements of the immediate previous accounting year shall be adjusted against the opening nature revenue reserves. So by any chance, खुदा ना करे खादसा और आप AS 22 apply करते थे, and now this entity turn out to be a level 4 entity, then this is the transitional provision. Whatever was the deferred tax asset or liability should be offset to the opening revenue reserves. That means the opening retain earnings or the profit and loss account, and then you reduce it to zero. That's what they mean to say. The first transitional provision ये पूरे discussion में एक ही है, and that is for AS22 level 4 entities. Intangible assets. Sir, now this intangible asset exemption is applicable to level, and now here sorry, there's one typo error. AS26 is the okay, this is about the intangible assets, about the impairment. Intangible assets about the impairment, sir. So this, when I had typed this AS28, so read it, sir, read it as a 28, please. Just read it as a AS28. There's one typo error, and I'm my apology for that. AS28. Just one sec, please. Allow me a minute. Damn it. As I was mentioning, there's one standard which is not applicable to level 4 entities, and that is AS28. So when I had written this up in my slide, the question which was asked to me, Sardai, why you have forgotten level? Why you forgotten the level 1 enterprise, level 1 entity, level 1 non-company entity? So then my answer to this was, okay, it is not written because it is not applicable to the level 1 entity. So this just a small correction. So when I mentioned this, sir, you have forgotten level 1. And sorry, you have forgotten level 4 entities. Why it is not mentioned? Then I put a star mark here that it is not applicable to level 4 entities, and that's why it was in the title. It was not mentioned about the level 4, sir. Sorry about this typo error. Sorry about it. So here, this is about a disclosure, and there is one very important change about the level 2 and level 3 non-company entities, and that is about the measurement. So this is again one small tweak they've done. So we know that impairment is to be done when the carrying value oblique the book value is more than the recoverable amount. And we also know what is the recoverable amount. It is a higher of value in use and fair value less cost of disposal. Value in use is measured by plotting the projected cash flow for next 5 years, adding that to the terminal value by using the WACC and all kind of formula, and then you arrive discounting to the present value by using the proper discounting rate, and you get the value in use. So while doing so, you have to do the projection and all this. But here they say, rather than doing all this rigmarole, rather than doing all these detailed calculations about the next 5 years calculation, just the reasonable estimate and not the detailed project cash flow for 5 years. So you can make a just reasonable estimate. But tell me one thing, how many of you Now, can I ask how many members are there still? There are 54. Friends, can I open this floor to the participants and want to ask you how many of you have done, how many of us have done impairment in case of a private limited company, leave aside the non-corporate entities? Such बताइए sir. दिल से बताइए चलो. Because when we talk about the impairment, the management talks to us with some kind of as if they are frowning us. Impairment? वो कोई हम as if they think that we are asked them to do commit some sin. More so after the COVID. In case of few of our clients, which are of course a private limited company, they are into tourism, tours and tourism. So when we asked them that about the impairment of the resorts and tourism and all these, they were हमसे कतराते थे वो सर वैसे. तो अ, आप कोई मेंबर बताएंगे सर किसी ने इम्पेयरमेंट किया है कि इम्पेयरमेंट करने की हिम्मत भी जताई है क्या सर? Honestly, please, hello. This is not going to be recorded and is going to go against any of us, sir. Plus, but ये एक the reality है. This is the reality that when we talk about the impairment, all this, they discard us. they कई बार ह्यूमिलेट कर देते कि ये सब क्या बात करते हैं इम्पेयरमेंट. जैसे हमने कोई मैनेजमेंट के इल्जाम लगाया ऐसी कुछ बात करी. सो कोई एनी ऑफ द मेंबर्स सर, हेलो गौरांग भाई, कैन यू प्लीज इम्प्लोर कैन यू प्लीज
members can unmute themselves and participate, so we can have a live
सर
interaction.
थोड़ा लाइव बनाए सर. ये तो लगता है कि मैं सुधीर चौधरी के जैसे बात करते जाता हूँ और कुछ कर नहीं रहा हूँ सर.
Yes, Loda sir.
हाँ प्लीज कोई तो बताए सर.
I have not tried impairment.
अच्छा कौन बोल रहे सर?
PS Loda.
नमस्कार जी सर. हमने भी नहीं किया सर, और हम भी बोलते हैं तो सर उनको कहते हैं कि भाई वो सर भी जाने दो ना, अभी नेक्स्ट टाइम करेंगे ऐसे बोलते हैं सर.
So the thing is कि काफी CAs ध्यान ही नहीं देते कि इम्पेयरमेंट करना चाहिए.
करेक्ट.
मैनेजमेंट को बताने की it's the second thing. First we ourselves you should know, you should take.
करेक्ट. एक सर एक दूसरी कॉमन एरर होती है सब. दूसरी कॉमन एरर एक मींस एरर नहीं तो आई वुड से द पॉइंट टू पॉन्डर फॉर अस चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट एंड मोस्टली फॉर द प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी, वो ये है कि लॉसेस बहुत होते हैं प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी में. सी मोस्टली प्राइवेट कंपनी का मतलब ऐसा है कि जैसे कि लॉस के लिए बनाते ऐसे लग रहा है सर कई बार. So mostly the losses are so much that they are into negative sir. And वो एक साल की बात नहीं, सदियों से चला आता है. So it's become a common phenomena that is a negative word and it is wiped out. कहीं एक कुछ chat पे कुछ सुराग आया है. The impairment practically not tried, also in the short span of time. Difficult. मैं मानता हूँ सब. जो बैलेंस शीट आपके पास 25 सितंबर को आए और 30 सितंबर को आपको कैसे भी करके अपने हिसाब से मैनेज करना है, राइट सर. और उनका फिर दूसरा भी मैंडेट क्या है सर कि सर टैक्स हम कुछ नहीं भरेंगे. हाँ, वो जो भरा है ना एडवांस TDS उसमें आप मैनेज करो सर. हाँ करेक्ट. तो हमको इन्वेंट्री मेजरमेंट को ट्विक करना पड़ता है. इन्वेंट्री मेजरमेंट की क्राइटेरिया हिंदुस्तान में क्या होती है सर? छोटी और मझली कंपनी की बात कर रहा हूँ सर. सो मैं कहीं पे कैसे व्याख्यान दे रहा था, मैंने कहा कि भाई इन इंडिया द मेजरमेंट क्राइटेरिया ऑफ द इन्वेंट्री इज द टैक्स फिगर. सो दिस इज टैक्स फिगर. सब वो भौचक्के रह गए. I said, yeah, it's a tax figure because we have been given mandate by the management. You first go, what is the tax liability? If the tax is more, then you reduce the inventory. Correct, sir? तो ये सब जब इनके conflicting आते also okay नहीं है सर, वो हकीकत है सर, that is true, but it is a fact that the measurement is the tax amount. And कहने का मतलब कि हम we are facing some problems as a chartered accountant by the conflicting objectives given by the management कि टैक्स भी ज्यादा नहीं भरना है और इनकम भी ज्यादा नहीं करना है. करेक्ट सर. सो आपकी बात से कि लास्ट मिनट पे ये सब हम कैसे करें. सो ये जो आप बात कर रहे हैं ना यूट्यूब की बात, आई अप्रिशिएट दैट, बट देन you should be aware of the fact. I draw your attention that CAG reports when they have given reports on the compliance by the auditors, for tax auditors, these are very very serious, and the kind of allegations they made are इसकी तुलना में ये तो कुछ नहीं मैंने कहा सर, बहुत सी चीजें सही बात है, but thank you very much sir. But I'll tell you one more thing. If the client is genuine, and if you are really discharging their duty, and if they're very seriously doing business, though it's a private limited company, well, at the same time, we also appreciate one thing, that as during COVID also, in our firm, at least 4 private limited companies which has turnover more than 250 crores, balance sheet is ready. Sometimes you have to educate your client. You have to take an active interest and tell them that please try and finalize as early as possible. By June, by August, September, you should be focusing on your current year's tax planning rather than doing the postmortem of the past year's financial statements. So when you come across a situation and your client is serious of the compliances, and naturally you are, then you should tell them that what the standard says is do the impairment test. Carry the impairment test whenever there are indicators of impairment, external or internal. Impairment test कीजिए, impairment करना जरूरी नहीं है. Impairment is important, not the impairment. Impairment test is important. Document this fact. Now I'll give the example that in few of the cases, just as a matter of the as a matter of grooming the internal team. So we've done some impairment tests. बोला चलो बड़ी एक client मना करते, but उनका करते. So then we did the internal test. Resorts was the resort which belonged to the private limited company was acquired about 25 years back. The land cost and the building cost was hardly in lakhs, whereas in fact when you apply the fair value less cost of disposal, the value was turning out to be in crores of rupees. Are you getting my point? So
Yes.
what is important for you is to just conduct the impairment test, not necessarily the impairment. And once you do that, once you convince your client, he'll be more than happy. And at that point in time, you are really doing you well. Okay, now I was talking about the loss companies, the companies which are loss making. Mind you well, it is not concerning the non-company entities जिसके बारे में ये विषय में चर्चा हो रही, but the दिल है कि मानता नहीं. And I think it was there in the tax. It was there in in one of the ICI's publications for the audit under the Companies Act. And it was I can't recollect which document was it, but it was fact. It is mentioned there, and this point was touched upon. So what members should do in that case? Because if the company is perennially making losses and still doing the business, the question arises about the going concern. Because going concern business bhi chal raha hai and loss ki matra बढ़ रही है. We know that private limited company, normally people are encouraged to because that the remuneration and directors remuneration fees is the only way to accept the dividend. Now dividend is going to be taxable all the more. If you are in a bracket of 42%, then you will not take this thing. So जो भी कुछ है dividend है, remuneration है, whatever it may be, you keep on then you show the rentals to the for the directors premises or something like that, and at the end of the day show bhi chal raha hai and losses bhi. What would you do to guard yourself against the going concern assumption? So in that case, our management's representation letter should be very strong, and it should have a commitment from the promoters or the promoters come shareholders or the management. Yes, and at the same time, the same thing is there. In this case, the common phenomena is that there is increase in the borrowings from the directors. Be careful when you borrow from the directors, because you have to comply with the Companies Act deposit rules. The directors can definitely give unlimited amount of deposit loan to the company, and still it is not construed as a deposit. Conditions apply. That directors have to give, directors must in the first place give this loan to the company, not from any borrowings or advances, but from its own savings, part savings or the income. In other words, director कहीं से loan लेते हैं and company को देते हैं, तो वो deposit में गिनी जाएंगी, and we know that what are the repercussions for that. And besides doing such a thing, please, someone is, can you please unmute yourself? Gaurang, thank you. In the first place, generally the director has to give the money not from borrowings or the loans, but from his own savings. At the same time, he has to give an undertaking to that effect that yes, this money has been given by him, not from borrowings and all this. So, wo bhi you should write, you should get a written this thing from the management that the going concern assumption will be intact. Otherwise, this could be questioned. If not directly by ROC, but some will instigate if there is some problem amongst the directors or the promoters of the company. So friend, here this one exemption is given, and that is pertaining to the measurement of the value in use. I'm going to share one anecdote with you very soon, and this will really prompt you कि कुछ भी करो दिल से करो अच्छा करो और नहीं तो कोई नहीं बट ऊपर वाला देखने वाला है and उसका फल आपको जरूर मिलेगा सर definitely. Okay. Okay. Now this exemption is, so wherever is possible, I have put this exemption is about the disclosure of what, and mainly these are for the disclosures. So this is again for the impairment losses and all this. And now 29 again for the contingent liabilities and all this. Sir, one thing is there about the contingent liabilities. If the entity has borrowed money from the letter of credit (LC), then if they've discounted the LC, bill discounting, and taken the money from the bank, please make sure that you disclose in the contingent liability, because if the other party fails to make the payment, then it will be your liability. तो कहीं पे भी अगर लेटर ऑफ क्रेडिट से आपने पैसे लिए हैं तो ध्यान रहे कि इसका कम से कम डिस्क्लोजर होना चाहिए, बिकॉज ये तुरंत एनीवन कैन कनेक्ट. See, बाकी कोई accounting treatment you have done correctly or not correctly, no one is going to see you. People are going to believe you. लोग सीए की सिग्नेचर को इतनी अहमियत देते हैं कि एक बार थप्पा आपको लग गया, वो बाकी कुछ चीज नहीं दिखेंगे. वो बोलेंगे कि नहीं गौरांग भाई ने रिपोर्ट दिया है, परफेक्ट होगा. ABC is given a report, it will be perfect. But certain things which are glaring and which anyone can compare whether the compliance is done properly or not. And what is this? Borrowing from the banks, again the LCs, and if it is not disclosed in the contingent liability, then the reader will get an idea कि अगर ये compliance नहीं है तो बाकी कितनी जगह पे compliance नहीं हो सकते. Okay, so that will, the reader will treat as a, there is more to meet than meet your eyes. Okay, and naturally the amalgamation all is not applicable. This is what I have mentioned here, that for example, if the partnership firms enters into a JV, then it has to apply AS 27 about the financial reporting of the interest in the JVs. So this we understand that why the exemption is given is obvious, correct? Now the question arises when we are conducting the tax audit. When we are conducting the tax audit, are we supposed to follow accounting standards? May it be an HUF, may it be a partnership firm or an individual, correct? Ye level 1 to level 2, then it will be then applicable. Yes, it is considered as an attest function, and hence the auditor should follow the accounting standard in such an attest function. Sir, ek aur bhi baat kahun, with due respect to all my professional brothers, they got so many things on their head about the profession and about their personal matters also. सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, किसी की बर्थडे ये है, फैमिली, बहुत ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, समय निकालना मुश्किल हो जाता है. बट फिर भी I think we must read the accounting standards afresh. Carve out the time for you. If not much, at least one Saturday you say that till 12 o'clock, I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to do anything. Simply, I want to read and invest on myself. Invest on oneself. Invest on yourself. Friends, I realized one thing, that in days when I studied in 2009, and then I have to keep on, at that point of time, it was IFRS. And then, sorry, and then I'm constantly sitting since last 2 hours, so feeling a bit uncomfortable. And then when I studied in 2015, 16, and when I studied in 2021, now 2021, COVID has given me a chance to reinvent myself like the way you have done it yourself. Friends, I realized that uh, honestly, I could improve myself. I could improve myself on many fronts. Correct, sir? So then I realized कि एक maturity आती है, sir. उम्र के साथ एक maturity भी आती है. So when you read the standards now, I'm telling this to the youngsters. When you had studied from the examination perspective, your motto was totally different and quite rightly so. कोई गलती नहीं आपकी. बिल्कुल सही क्या. Exam एक है, एक लेवल की भांति आपको सिर्फ पास करना था, and you did it. You read it. But now, when you read accounting standard, the same accounting standard, आप खुद you realize yourself. Yes, there's a lot of improvement in our understanding, in our interpretation of these accounting standards. Believe me, friends. ये accounting standard पे व्याख्यान इसलिए इसी पे सीमित रखता हूँ, but I realized one thing, that one should also, if you are on the income tax practice, you must keep on reading time and again, because changes are so many and so frequent that it is difficult to keep track of them. So yes, what attest function, now I have given the attest function here, that what is concerned is the attest function and what is not. एक और भी सवाल आया था जो यहाँ पे नहीं है, but फिर भी बताना था. Sir, charitable trust, are accounting standards applicable to them or not? तो मैंने पहले ही कहा, सर, I am not a Raymond, I am not a complete man like Raymond's, और न तो मेरे पास authority है कि मैं क्या करूं, किससे applicable. For that, you must read the preface to the accounting standard, preface to the statement of accounting standard, and this preface tells you, they have written very clearly where these standards are applicable, to whom they are applicable. So in the same preface statement, they say that if the charitable trust is not carrying on any business, then accounting standards are not applicable. However, if the charitable trust is carrying on the accounting carrying on any business activities, the standards are applicable. Now let us come to this sentence was given back in 1979. If I'm not mistaken, 21st April or some day is the date of the establishment of the Accounting Standard Board of ICI, and which has completed about 40 years in 2019, and now you see is about 42 years old ASB. So while it was given then, while discharging the attest function, it will be the duty of the members of the ICI to ensure that the accounting standards are implemented in the presentation of the financial statements covered by their audit report. In the event of any deviation from this standard, it will be there also the duty to make the adequate disclosures in the reports so that the user of the statement can avail. And same kind of requirement is replicated in the guidance note to the accounting standards, and which is here. Guidance note under the 44 AB of the IT Act also applied in respect of the financial statements audited under the section 44 AB of the IT Act. Accordingly, the members should examine compliance with the mandatory accounting standards where conducting their such audit. Is given in page 42, this paragraph. So friends, when we discharge this thing, tax audit function, make sure that you have complied with the accounting standard, your entity, your client. What is important for us in that case? There had to be disclosure of accounting policies. This disclosure of accounting policy will give a signal to them कि yes, ये बंदे ने काम किया है, ये बंदे ने देखा है कि accounting standards की applicability क्या है. Because AS1 is one standard which is applicable across the board to all types of non-company entities. Level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Correct, sir? And believe me, friends, it will really improve the quality of your work. Now, LLP should follow which standard? LLP should follow the AS, which is notified by the Accounting Standard Board. Because they need not wait for the accounting standards to be notified under Section 133 of the Companies Act. If they are issued by the ASB, it's enough for them to follow. Now, where is the difference? When back in 2016, and these changes in the accounting standards were brought in, AS 10, AS 13, is 21. So some changes were brought in back in 2016, and these changes were brought on 30th of March 2016. Now the question then arose, okay, it was to be applicable for which year? Then ICI made it very clear, okay, since they have been notified under Section 133 of the Companies Act, companies will follow this for the financial year 16-17. And non-company entities, which are partnership firms, HUFs, individual, will follow for the financial year 17-18, because that was a clarification. So LLP is definitely covered under the erstwhile AS, okay, and those levels. LLP need not wait for the MCA disclosure. Now we have mentioned, I mentioned to you about the tax review board. Same on the line of the financial reporting and review board. So a watchdog, ICI, is now going to verify on a sample basis this report. Sir, I'm into the taxation practice also. Afraid we realized that they are a team of who's who is sitting on the other side of the table. I shared one anecdote, and this is for one of our film star. Now, he had been using his home as an office. So we claim depreciation for part of his premises. We consider that part is for the office and partly for the self-use. And for the office, we claim the depreciation and all kind of thing. And then they say they could not reclaim. So then they asked, and this has been going since last good old at least 20 years. In all 20 years, at least 10 years, there was a scrutiny. There were scrutiny assessments. None of the officers has raised question on the following issues. And they, when they convinced them, they had agreed and they allowed the depreciation, and everything was accepted. Now, when the new assessment came under the new regime, we are getting questions like this. Yes, we agree that the assessor is using this as an office premises. Show us the change of user rules. Have you applied to BMC for change of use? Have you taken permission of the society? And all kind of questions are being raised. So the top-notch people in the department is sitting the other side of table. And we also discussed with our friends in the income tax department, few retired personnel, and few of them are actually on the job there. He said, Desai साहब, अब वो साहब प्लीज जरा देख लीजिए, प्लीज जरा गलती हो गई, अब नेक्स्ट टाइम से नहीं करेंगे, वो नहीं चलने वाला है. They will purely go by the paper book, copybook style. If this actor has been using this, have you applied change of user, sir? Change of user का बात दिमाग में income list में आना बहुत लंबी बात है, sir. You get my point? The point is that they are taking the 360-degree view of your returns, and tax audit report not matching with the income tax returns is a big challenge. You have shown something disallowances in your tax audit report, but the same disallowances, bearing that that about the disallowances on account of the payment of taxes for this, now they've allowed that you can revise the tax audit report in the hindsight of the fact that when you had given the report on say 31st December example, you were supposed to give that the entity has not deposited TDS, but by 31st January, when it was a due date, party has paid the deposited the TDS money and claimed the expenses of that. To return में वो expense नहीं claim you claim the expenses because you deposited the TDS on time before the due date of filing return. But in the tax audit report, you've shown as a disallowances. Bearing such things which are inherent because of this mistake, bearing such thing, if there are some other disallowances or there other non-matching of some information, okay, now they are also focusing on related party disclosures. in your return and your tax audit report. You match it. And now they go one step further. If it is a private limited company and if the related party disclosure is applicable, they match with even that also. So कहने की बात कि सर अब वो दिन गए कि जब चलता था, but now it will not be there. Well, I do agree with you. We have paucity of time. जब 28 सितंबर को क्लाइंट आते हैं या से 28 जनवरी को and they expect us to do everything, but the only thing which I realize now is that we must educate client. This 4 to 5 private limited companies which we are ready with the full audit report, we have kept in hold because forms nahi hai, ye nahi hai, sab cheez, right? And we don't know to hold the AGM so fast because aaj kar sakte hai COVID mein, next year nahi hoga, and then we have to do it within certain time. The difference between the AGM, I don't know, I don't remember much about that, but I don't know, it should not be more than some 120 days or something like that. So point is that we could do it, we could achieve it. The only best thing is that educate your client. Okay, sir, आप जिससे सही करते हैं इसे हम अटेस्टेशन कहते हैं, correct? एक सही मार दो ना ऐसे. So allow me 1 minute. I'll try to get you one document, and that is very important because normally clients कहते हैं कि import export का document लाते, सर हमको DGFT में देना है, Directory of Foreign Trade and this thing, and you just certify that अपना turnover हुआ export का. Tally valley सब check कर लिया. Don't do that. Please do it yourself, check it yourself, and they simply say management MD ने सही किया है, CFO ने सही किया on left पे for XYZ Private Limited, you also put like this. So don't do that. Allow me a minute. I'll try to find out that if it is here, or else I will share with Gaurang Bhai some other day. So line पे बने रहिए, जाइएगा मत. शायद मैंने वो डॉक्यूमेंट संभाल के रखा है. That file, it is there on the ICI website, the guidance notes, and please I got a document, sir. Gaurang Bhai, can you see this document on your screen? Guidance note
Yes.
on reports and certificates for special purposes, sir. So
Yes.
this has been issued by the ICI. My only request is that go to this, and they have given you a complete guidance as to how you should give certain reports. Correct, sir? And this is a very good example. Work performed by practitioners expert, obtaining evidence, subsequent event. Appendix, they've given illustrative format of the reports and certificates. So sometimes you may not use exactly like this, but you can amend it, and don't forget to take the management's representation letter for any assignment you get, sir. Please, because based on their verbal commitment, based on their telephonic conversation, you may give some report to them, you give some opinion about that, and certainly to your shock they realize, sir मैंने तो ऐसा कहा ही नहीं था, लगता है कुछ misunderstanding हो गई sir. Quite merrily they will say you this. And when you ask them to reduce this to writing in the management's representation letter, they will come out with umpteen name of excuses. So please, we have to guard ourselves. बहुत शिद्दत से हमने मेहनत करके ली है डिग्री सर. तो they have given this very good document, and if you want I can bring it once again here, or maybe I'll share with you, Gaurang, on your WhatsApp. You can share it. SNK you cannot find out, but it will be easy and it will be on a platter. Okay, so that you can easily access this. So there are many guidance notes, friends, issued by ICI. You should sometime read it very carefully, sir. So this I wanted to draw your attention to, and let me see that now. Okay. Immediately अभी now list ये तो So Gaurang Bhai, this was the deliberation on the thing. Just a minute, please. Okay. So this was my deliberation, Gaurang bhai, and I have forgotten one thing, not forgotten one thing. I want to bring to your notice one thing, and that is the Excel sheet which I had mentioned to you. I'll share with you and I'll discuss with you. It is here. Computer G, please, where are you? Okay. So this I added today, and this is the summary prepared by one of my C finalist article clerk, and he has given this complete detail as to which standard is applicable to which type of entities, level 1, 2, 3, and with some color coding you can find that this is applicable, but with disclosure exemption. That means that means property plant equipment is definitely applicable, no denying, to all entities, but to entities level number 3 and 4, it is applicable with the exemptions. And here's a summary of this thing, that which standards are fully applicable to which category, and not applicable at all, or applicable with disclosure, and applicable with the exemption, and applicable partially. Is this applicable partially is only one standard, and that is Gaurangji, you can make a small announcement that this Excel sheet is going to be shared with is not my work. Whoever has given this compliment to me, Mr. Hero, it is not my work. It is a work of my okay. Just a minute. Now there's one query. Mr. Arun Sureka, see Arun Sureka, if the company gets fixed assets revalued by registered value and the impairment is recognized for as a carrying value is more than the revalue, if the company gets the fixed asset revalued by the registered value and the impairment is recognized as a carrying value is more than the revalued figure, this is fine, because what you're trying to say is carrying amount is more than the recoverable amount, and in that case impairment loss is to be recognized. For reference, it is feasible to share the here on this. Jinesh Doshi ji, for reference, is it feasible to share here on this meeting? Jinesh ji, can you be alive, please? Jinesh ji, hello. Gaurav bhai? Gaurav bhai?
I think he's asking for the presentation.
Okay, of course, this presentation as well as the Excel file, which is not my work, but has been had by my CF finalist, Mr.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Arey, not sorry, kahin ke liye yaar? Kyun sorry?
I was just searching for the unmuting the things.
Acha. Okay, fine. All right. Okay, sir, Gaurang, this Excel sheet which has been done by my CF finalist article Prem Sarvaiya. Credit goes to him, and again, the content of all my PPTs is nothing but the compilation by me from the various resources. मैं तो केवल सूत्रधार की भूमिका अदा कर रहा था, and that's what I could do. Okay.
And give the.
नमस्कार राठी जी, संदीप जी, कैसे सर? बस ठीक ठाक. थैंक यू फॉर अप्रिशिएशन. एंड एक बात बताऊं सर, जब गौरांग भाई के साथ बात हुई थी तो नॉर्मली I had deliberated this on the WRC, where it was concluded in 45 minutes. I done it at Kolhapur branch. It was done in 1 hour time, and then balance 1 hour I had agreed to take some two standards, AS16 and AS7 construction code, because एक केवल एक ही श्री साई समर्था. नमस्कार खांडेकर जी, नमस्कार खांडेकर जी, कितने अरसों के बाद आप मिल रहे हैं? हाँ, नमस्कार जी, बहुत अच्छा लगा आपकी मैसेज सुन के. एंड खांडेकर जी, I'll appreciate if you just call me on this number, and friends, any query please call me, because any query please call me, because क्या है सर कि yeah, excellent rendition as always. ऐसे शब्द का इस्तेमाल विद्याधर जी आप ही कर सकते हैं. Thank you so much. Friends, please do call me on this number. Anything, please, because I'm there to help you out. I got a full sympathy for my professional brothers about their capacity crunch or the practical situations they are facing, and for whatever reasons, if they want any help, please, it's going to be on the house.
Sir, one query is there, if you permit.
Of course, please.
Yeah. Now you said that the model, these financial statements are there on ICI and WSC. Can you share the link from where we can download it?
I will definitely. I will just now talk to Mr. Chintan Patel, and if he's available, I will call him live. जैसे कहते हैं ना कि computer जी, please let's bring in online, okay? And if Chintan Patel is there, is willing to come on the line, I'll ask you to send in the link.
Okay,
So
thank you so
live.
much.
इसको और भी रोचक बनाएंगे.
And there is one more thing. This internal financial controls are applicable to what?
देखिए, small entities को तो होगा ही नहीं, NCE को तो होगा ही नहीं.
For a small private company.
Small private company, there's a relaxation given. One relaxation is there that I don't remember exactly, but it's there in the companies like itself, and which is linked to the turnover and the borrowings. The turnover and the borrowings. And I'll give that also with you. I'll
Okay,
give that.
thank you.
So
Thank you.
Just line pe bana rahiye, please. Let me talk to Mr. Demant Bhai. Demant.
Please, thank you.
No, आप बने रहिए, सब all members you there, and he'll really help us a lot. Same Demant. Sorry, Dinal Sah. Dinal Sah भी काफी अच्छे हैं, very renowned one, and I'll bring him live on the show. Chintan Bhai को phone किया, but उठा नहीं रहे, maybe he's busy. Because Dinal Bhai and Chintal Bhai and all these, they know great efforts, and all of them are CMs, of course, and the other professionals also, they are the part of the group to bring this. And I'll share this link with you. Definitely, I'll share this link, and even the link for this document, which in the Gaurang Bhai, I'll share this document with you. तो मैंने बताया ना, guidance note, ठीक है? But थोड़ा समय दीजिए, maybe by tomorrow or latest by Monday, I'll share this so-called intellectual property with you. Okay.
Thank you.
Let me see, because Chintan, he knows hands-on where exactly this is there. I agree with you. एक handy link मिल जाता है तो अच्छा लगता है. So sir, तो हमारी समस्या ये थी कि अगर 1 hour में when I complete this, what to do for the next one, so I had thought of deliberating on the few standards, but then इतनी आराम से, very good flow of the presentation हुआ. आप लोगों के साथ भी मजा आ गई सब. देसाई साहब भी बीच में आए थे, and it was there. Unfortunately, I feel like back to the article days when we learned from the principal in this cabin live. Right. Thank you so much. So anyway, वो लग नहीं रहा है सर. तो नहीं तो मैं ट्राई करता था कि आप उनकी जुबान सुनिए exactly कहाँ पे. But I'll share this link with you for sure. Okay. Thank you very much. God bless you and all the best. Everyone, please. Naturally, you're taking care of you.
Thank you very much.
And you will take care of you. And more than anything else, I would say, भगवान आपकी और आपके परिवार की और आपके मित्रों की सुरक्षा करे. And ये कठिन जो काल चल रहा है, इसमें से हमें सबको बचाए. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the lovely presentation. In case if any members have, can we take some questions in case if members have?
Of course.
So members can unmute themselves, if they have any questions regarding the session, this topic. So, I personally have one observation. Generally, in the proprietorship, we don't account for deferred tax assets. We do the depreciation. We take the depreciation of the amount is as equal to the income tax amount only.
आपका नाम बताएंगे आप? नाम बताएंगे आप?
So it's my question.
अच्छा, ये गौरंग, you only. अच्छा. गौरंग, ये केवल आप ही नहीं, सब लोग कर रहे. And what you say is correct, because mostly for partnership firms, AOP and HUF and individual, we follow the depreciation not given in the Companies Act, even for the indicative purpose, but we follow what is given by the Income Tax Act. So there is no question of the difference between the tax profit and the income tax profit on account of depreciation. I repeat, on account of depreciation, right, sir? So there is no question. And in terms of Ind AS, I will put this word, there is no difference in the carrying value and the tax base. करेक्ट. सो कहने का आशय के इसकी गुंजाइश नहीं है सर. Temporary or the timing differences nahi rahenge because you are following these things. I was just checking whether there is a call from this. In some session, call you at 3 o'clock. Dinal Saha ka message aa gaya. He's in some session, call you at 3 o'clock, and that's why he's not able to come. Otherwise, he would have definitely come and shared his views with you. जो मैं मानता हूँ कि भाई spokesperson and from the authority, if you hear nothing like that. I think I should have alerted them. That is my mistake. But next time we'll do something.
So should we follow should we account for depreciation based on number of the asset has been used?
अब देखिए कि there's a difference in the accounting standard and the difference in the tax treatment for the depreciation. And वो mostly बड़ी company में भी is a matter of big concern and the challenge, because accounting standards use the word ready to use, whereas income tax say put to use. Now tell me, what exactly is your question, Gaurang?
So like in income tax, it is like if asset is put to use before 1st of October, then you can claim 100% depreciation.
जी हाँ.
And whereas as per accounting, if it is in the, let's say suppose it was put in the month of first June, if the asset is put to use on 1st of June, then we claim for the remaining 9 months.
Correct. हाँ.
Okay, so so keeping aside the rate, let's say the rate is fixed.
Then आप समझ गए. Now I got your point. Your rate is fixed both for the income tax and the books of accounts, correct? But
Yes,
there could be still difference on account of this. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Now, but if you now under the revising, if your company comes in the category of level 4, then you should not apply this standard at all, because level 4 is 2, but level 3 के लिए, level 3 and level 2 naturally you may have to apply for it. Yes, I do see your point. That could be a very good point by you, Gaurang. Yes, that despite बावजूद उससे कि वो आप rate same है, फिर भी difference हो सकता है. क्यों? Because of first half and second half. Brilliant point by you. Good.
Yes, Lodasi.
Yeah, sir. If we are, if the assessee is not following certain few accounting standards, and if it disclosed in the notes, whether it will suffice the purpose or it should form the part of our main report.
Sir, as far as we are concerned as an auditor, our role is very limited as far as the remedial actions are concerned, and we have to report only, right? हम उनको compel नहीं कर सकते कि आप ये follow करें. But the only thing is that if the guidance note says very clearly, if there are any deviations, and those should be reported, and that's what the standard has said. Just a minute, I'm just coming to that only, this paragraph. सब आपका नाम बताएंगे सर प्लीज?
PS लोढ़ा सर.
नमस्कार लोढ़ा जी, कैसे हैं सर? ठीक ठाक?
Yeah, everything is fine sir.
ये रही स्लाइड सिर्फ और सिर्फ आपके लिए.
नहीं sir, so whether disclosing in the notes will suffice the purpose?
From the auditor's perspective, it will suffice.
Not in the main report.
No, not in the
main report.
Nee, what do you mean by main report?
Main report means specially like if we are making the tax audit and it should form form the 3CB or 3CA there and the notes. So little difference, no?
Sir, so I think there in the notes is enough to do so. और the main report में करें तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है सर? एक repeat होगा और उसके होगा.
Yeah, generally I am following. I am disclosing the main report. The assessee is not followed.
Yeah, that's fine. That's enough.
That's enough, no?
Because 3CD is not concerned about the compliance with the accounting standard, if you go to see. Whereas this mandate is from the perspective of the accounting standard.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes.
किशोर कोटेचा CA.
नमस्कार किशोर जी, हॉट सीट पे आपका स्वागत है. अगर आप चाहें तो वीडियो पे आप यहाँ आ सकते हैं और आपकी सूरत भी दिखाए हमें और दूसरों को भी.
Maybe my laptop doesn't support now.
Don't worry.
So I have already on chat box I put how to coordinate with income computation and disclosure standards, because 3CD requires specific clause for income computation and disclosure.
Correct. But sir, for 3CD, for the compliance with the Ind AS, sorry, this ICDS, there is another column in the 3CD report where you have to debate and dwell upon each and every standards, whether there's a compliance or not, and if there is no compliance, you have to give the reason for that.
But it should be in line with what we have disclosed or in the accounting policy.
ये जो हमारा जो पूरा जो संभाषण था, that was concerning the accounting standards, and now you are making you're giving you are asking this question from the different perspective, and that perspective is asking about the compliance with the tax accounting standards, right, sir?
Yeah.
So tax accounting standard is to be separately dealt with in the tax audit report.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
We'll keep a forum open for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
In case if any members have any
Sure.
queries.
Sure.
Yes, sir. We can conclude the session. It was a very beautiful, I would like to say. It's a very good flow, a very detailed session, in a very precise manner. You know, explain the importance of the accounting standards. Like, more like we CAs don't focus more on the accounting standard for the non-corporate entities. You have shown the errors, the mistakes which a CA, in the disclosure while preparing the cash flow statement. You have shown those, and it was very great session, sir. On the behalf of Andheri West Study Circle, I would like to thank. At the end of the session, we still have a participants of around 40, which is, all the members are still there. So I would like to thank on behalf of
शुक्रगुजार के हकदार वो है, मैं नहीं. और आप
to all the members, our next session is on the code of ethics by CCM CA Mangesh ji. So request all the members to kindly register themselves for the event. Thank you so much, sir. Once again.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting, and thanks everybody.